This episode of the Citadel Cafe is brought to you by listeners like you. Visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe to find out how you can become a patron and help make this show possible. This is the Citadel Cafe, episode number 458 for Wednesday, December 21st, 2022. My name is Joel Duggan, and the Citadel Cafe is where my friends and I hang out all year round and talk about geeky stuff that we are into. And each year, near the holidays, I organize as many of my friends throughout the year as I can to come in and hang out on the holiday roundtable. Joining me this year, we've got Lou Page is back from Zombies Ate My Podcast. We're going to cross our fingers that Ryan Murphy might be coming by a little bit later from Zombies Ate My Podcast, The Gamers Inn, and Dungeons and Diapers. Stephen ESC is here on social media, Stephen ESC on Twitch. Alastair McFly is also here, Alastair McFly on social media and on Twitch, as you might have guessed. So Lou, I want to start with you. Hello, welcome back. Holy smokes, it's been a while.
It's been like 6 to 8 months, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
I would say it has to. If March or April was when I had to bow out.
Yeah, life just got busy, eh?
Yeah. That's what happens when your boss breaks his collarbone. They change 3 systems on you that you have to use, so you have to relearn how to do all kinds of things. And all of a sudden, magically, the company decides, "Oh, that job you do, we can bury you with work." So.
It happens, and it happens to Steven as well. You and I were just chatting on the treadmill this morning about how much work you have to do before you're able to go on Christmas vacation. So are you nearing the end? Is the light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I have until the end of this week, regardless of whether I finish or not. I'm not taking 2 weeks off. So it's like, so there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Whether I'm bringing the baggage with me or not, I have no idea. So.
Right. It's a future Steven problem after the 23rd.
Exactly. That's January 9th, Steven's problem.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And of course, Alastair is here, coming in hot out of the Christmas madness. Welcome in, my friend.
Hello. Always good to be back.
I was out in the madness today as well. I don't like to perpetuate the stereotype of dudes leaving everything to the last minute at Christmas. I have just been very busy, and none of the things that, I shouldn't say none, a couple of the things that I was getting family members were things that I bought online a while ago, like kind of Black Friday sale zones. But
yeah,
I had other things to go do, and a lot of the stuff required a vehicle, so I had to borrow my dad's car. And I only had just these finite couple of days, like day and a half really, to get everything done. And then, as often happens in this time of year, all my plans from last week got either canceled or rescheduled, and they got rescheduled to this week. So I've had to juggle all that while I've been getting ready for Christmas. And Christmas this year is up in the air. I won't get into any details, but the family is getting together on Boxing Day as a whole, and then there's other little satellite groups happening like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, that kind of thing. And I still don't know exactly who is going to be where. And my mission tomorrow is to call everyone and nail their toes to the carpet and be just like, look, I just need to know where you're going to be so I can either be there or know that I will see you later that day or the next day or whatever. But it's definitely something that I've seen on social media. And I'm going to ask you folks whether you think this is the case, but I really feel like this year has been more hectic than any year in the last little while. I mean, pandemic aside, I mean, I know that Christmases were really quiet during the pandemic for obvious reasons, but even pre-pandemic, this has just felt like a bit of a blitz to me. Stephen, have you found that Christmas has been like, I don't want to say stressful, because there's other things happening in people's lives that are way more stressful than just Christmas, but I feel like this year has been, I just feel like I'm running around with like a chicken with my head cut off. You?
I have to agree with you. I think for me, it's like, as you mentioned, or as we talked about, work's just been busy. So it's just, unfortunately, Christmas, I'm looking forward to it, but it almost feels like this one other thing on my to-do list that I need to get done. That is, it has a due date, it's a project with a due date kind of thing. And I hate to think of it that way, but just with work being so busy and just life and stuff, it's just, I'll feel differently end of day Friday, because then I have 2 weeks off. But I fully agree. It's been a whirlwind of a December, I feel like.
And I often try to get myself a good 10 days over Christmas because, I mean, I being my own boss, had everything run the way that I wanted it to, I would have been done Monday at 5 o'clock, like December
Yeah.
19th. I would have been just like, see ya, peace out, and then would have had the rest of the week to do other things. But now I've got, I mean, this, which is always fun, but I still have to edit and post this tomorrow. I've got a secondary podcast that Johnny and I recorded, and that'll have to be scheduled to go up on Boxing Day. So I've still got those kind of things left to do. So like you, I think I'm going to be right up to the end of the day, probably tomorrow, but it could also be into Friday before I kind of like kick my feet up and go, okay, officially on Christmas vacation until just after New Year's.
And do you think it'll bleed into the Friday?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Friday won't be work, but I still have things like making the Christmas pudding and wrapping Christmas presents,
right?
And stuff like that, and
things on the to-do list still.
Yeah, because Christmas
There's
Eve
always a
is
to-do
Saturday.
list.
Yeah, Christmas Eve is Saturday, and I want to have that kind of stuff done in case I am going to see people. If people are going to drop by, like I need to have those gifts wrapped and ready, rather than just like, oh, good, they're going to be here in 15 minutes. And I always feel silly wrapping something like minutes before someone opens it. It feels really dumb.
It's like licking the envelope of a card on the way to a party. It's like, oh, it's still wet.
We've lucked out because we've learned over time, now that Violet's almost 3, that Christmas time we get all of her presents. We were done with her. We got one last big gift because it went on sale at Walmart like just after Thanksgiving here. So like the end of November, that was the last gift we bought. But before that, we'd been done shopping with her for her back in like August or September.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Wow.
I have a big basement, so every time we buy something for her, it would go down here in my office and get stacked in the corner where she doesn't come down in the basement, but we know that she wouldn't see it even if she did. And so we've been just stacking stuff here. It's just a matter of finding the time to wrap it Friday night.
Nice.
So she's not going to be able to listen to this podcast for many years because otherwise the secret will be out.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've also agreed that when she does get bigger and she can come down here, my best friend lives across town, and we're gonna just start storing her gifts at his house. And I've already told him that. He's like, "That's fine. I have a big empty basement. You can just go stack them in the basement."
Nice.
That's amazing.
When we were kids, it was the neighbors, because the neighbors' kids had grown and left, and so the neighbors often had like a spare room or some extra room in the basement. And so when Andrea and I were old enough to be like entertaining ourselves, you're 10, you're 8, you're wandering the house doing kind of whatever you want within reason, having things, hidden in the house, we'd end up finding them. You play hide and seek in October and you find a Christmas gift, and then you get upset because you spoiled the surprise. So my parents used to stick them at the neighbor's house.
I don't know if this is because this carried over because I don't care about spoilers on anything. Tell me everything about the plot. I don't care. It's okay. But when I was a kid, I knew where my mother used to hide the Christmas presents. So I would literally go in there, open them up. Especially if they were video games, I would open up the box, take out the cartridge, go downstairs, play them, beat them, and then put them back in the box. And then I have to open them all back up at Christmas time. And my mother would be like, "Why is there a save file on this game already?" And I'd be like, "I don't know."
I'm so the opposite of that. I am a fan of the surprise on the day. So it's hats off to you. You love doing it, but that was just so against the grain of what I used to do.
My mother eventually gave up too, because then she kept trying to find new hiding places, and then I would just literally pick up a box and be like, "It has this in it." She'd be like, "No, it doesn't." She got to the point where she would rewrap things in bigger boxes or take them out of the box and put them in smaller boxes, and I would pick them up and shake them, and I'd be like, "You got a package in a box that was this size last week, and I know that it's not my thing. I know it's the thing that you bought, so I know you took the thing that you bought me, put it in this box, and that's what you did, and so this has this in it." And she would be like, "Why do I even bother? I hate you."
just slowly takes out the tranquilizer dart at that point.
My mother used to refer to it as I was the worst child ever.
I'm like Steven. I don't like the surprise of being spoiled even now. Like, it was just a few years ago, my parents gave me a new set of pots and pans, because the ones that I was using were old, and I think one of the handles had fallen off, so they ended up getting me a new set. And I was helping my mother get something out of the car. I'm not sure what it was,
Mm.
but she needed my hands with it. And I went down and just like there's this pot set like in the trunk. I'm just like, could you have maybe said something? And mom's like, you're old enough to not care. It's like, no, I'm old enough to still care. And I don't want to sound greedy, but as you get older, you get less and less for Christmas usually. It's more of a couple of nice, thoughtful gifts. It's usually a small family exchange. You're not buying for a ton of people. Your parents are not showering you with gifts like you were when you were a kid. And so when you only have like 4 or 5 things to unwrap at Christmas, I like not knowing. Like I like the surprise. I mean, I had the experience, as many of you can probably attest to this year, where my parents were bugging me like October 1st. Need a Christmas list. I need to know what ideas that you want for Christmas. Like, we don't live with you, so we need to know what you're into. And it's like, I haven't thought about Christmas. Halloween isn't for a month. So,
Yeah.
you try to help them out. And then the tables turn. You're like, hey, you've been bugging me for like a month. Here's your Christmas list. And it's now Remembrance Day. I feel like it's okay to send you this. Where's yours? I don't live with you either. What are you drinking right now? Like, I don't know anything. And typically, like, we've decided that, we don't really want for anything this year. So, and my dad even said in brackets, like, I know that's no help. No, it's not. Make something up. Like, just throw me a bone. Anything.
My dad is the worst. My dad is the guy all my life. Christmas Eve, he's out Christmas shopping because he didn't get anything for anybody. So he does it all last minute, wraps it all Christmas Eve night, and then everybody gets their things Christmas morning, and he's all stressed out. And he does that to this day. So even if I give him a list, he wouldn't get anything on it because it would all be gone. So he doesn't get me anything anymore. Now he just gets Violet stuff, and I can give him a list, and then he strays off the list and still gets all kinds of weird random stuff for Violet. And Violet loves all of it. Like, he does good, but it's like, And as for getting him stuff, I don't want anything. I know my dad well enough that he gets packages and he goes, how did you know I need one of these? And I'm like, well, 6 months ago, you mentioned that you were looking for something. And I know you put it off and you didn't buy it. So I bought it for you. And he's like, oh. Like, I listen.
My parents don't tend to listen to this podcast. So like there have been a couple of bottles of wines purchased for gifts. And the nice thing there is that my parents don't really go and buy themselves really nice bottles of wine. They tend to just drink whatever they buy in a box. Not that there can't be decent wine in a box, but it's not necessarily going to be the kind of thing that you would associate with a nice gift. And so at least in that realm, I know that I'm not buying something they already have, or, the hard part now is my sister and I have to coordinate and make sure that if this is because they've been no help and we're like, all right, booze it is. Because we know they like wine, and they like their steak dinners and things like that. And so Andrea and I have to coordinate. And I was standing in line after speaking with somebody at the liquor store today, and I had a good choice. It even came in a box because I lucked out I think the rep had been there just before I got there. So I had, a nice gift bottle of wine in a box. And I'm standing there going like, crap, there's 3 people between me and the checkout. So I texted my sister and took a picture. I was like, is this the one that you got her? Because if this is, I have to turn around right now. And Andrea was like, nope, I got her something else. I was like, perfect. Because it just kind of dawned on me that Andrea was asking me like what wine they were drinking right now. And I thought, maybe we both have the same idea. I should probably check with her. My parents are going to be going home with half the liquor store, but like, hey, whatever. Before we move on, I know, Alastair, you can't get into the work details, but are you ready for Christmas? Like, or are you scrambling like the rest of us for the next couple days?
Oh no, all my Christmas shopping's been done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I managed to somehow get a lot of that done. Especially as the majority of stuff was like from my parents over in the UK, and I somehow managed to still just get in under the radar for Amazon shipping. And that's even with the Royal Mail having massive delivery issues right now. There's a lot of stuff which is getting delayed. I've got friends who've, are still waiting on stuff that should have arrived 2 weeks ago. So how all my stuff has arrived on time, I don't know, but I'm glad that it has. And
nice.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
The things are all falling into a place.
Yeah.
You got confirmation that everything arrived?
Yeah. From my parents as well.
awesome.
They were like, we've got a gift. We haven't looked at it yet, but it has arrived. It's like, Fantastic.
great.
So I wasn't sure I was going to get it all on time.
All my dad's stuff for Violet is coming. It came today, and there's one more package coming tomorrow. And he's like, "I'm sorry I didn't wrap it." I'm like, "Don't worry, Dad. We're gonna rewrap everything and tell her who it was from. Don't worry about it."
Nice.
Even if you wrapped it, we're going to rewrap it.
Oh no, it's all come from. He orders everything from Amazon, so it all comes not wrapped. So
gotcha.
it gets here, and he's like, "What do you do? Just to have her open a box?" I'm like, "No, we wrap all your gifts." And he's like, "Really?"
Yeah, Amazon's kind of required for me right now because there is one friend that I have actually mailed actual gifts to, but the shipping is about twice the price of the value of the gift.
Yep.
So Amazon is the only thing that even makes it really possible to even ship something over. Really, the shipping costs are just insane if I have to ship them from Canada to there.
We were talking on the extended version of the Spawn Chunks this past week about Ganong chicken bones, because I said I got my dad chicken bones for Christmas, and then realized I was speaking to mostly a UK and US audience, and like I could hear the eyebrows go, "What? What did you get your father for Christmas?"
Yeah, mine's doing just that.
Yeah, I had to explain that it was a candy and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, Johnny looked it up online. Yeah, it's Ganong chicken bones, Alastair. Look it up. And actually, there's a link in the Spawn Chunks Discord if you want to go find it.
Okay, cool.
So Johnny was perked up because he likes that kind of candy. It's almost like a ribbon candy, like a hard candy. And so I was thinking, like, man, if I could find a small pack, like not a big package, but a small package that would fit in an envelope, I could probably mail it to him. And it would still, by weight, it would still cost a bit, but it wouldn't be as crazy as the prices for Ganong chicken bones in the UK. What I paid, I want to say it was $6 for on sale here in Canada for a gift for my dad as like a stocking stuffer, was something like 15 or 18 pounds in the UK,
Jesus.
which is like $30 Canadian. I was like, good Lord, man, don't buy them. If you see them in the UK, don't buy them. I will send you some. It will probably still be cheaper than that. So I haven't seen any small bags though. I've only seen the larger ones. And those will go quickly though. So I'll keep my eye out on Boxing Day. Sometimes you'll be able to see stuff like that go on sale with like, because it clears out because it only comes out once a year. They don't like send it back. They just have to sell it until it's all gone. I might buy myself some if it goes on sale. It's been a long time since I've had Ganong chicken bones. They were always around the house, of course, growing up because it was something that Dad had in his stocking every year. Before we get into the entertainment and what we've been either taking part in or looking forward to be taking part in over the holidays, I want to give a shout out to Brockett at the Cat Volver on social media. He was unable to make it. He had some other family stuff happening. 2 kids under 5 and Christmas around the corner and lots going on. So thanks for all the help this year, Brockett. And thanks to Johnny, Pixel Riffs, my co-host on the Spawn Chunks podcast, who also came by the Citadel Cafe to help us out with his vast knowledge of the Tolkienverse when we were talking about Rings of Power. It's always a treat to have Johnny on the show because we spend so much time talking about Minecraft on the Spawn Chunks that we don't really get much time to talk about other things that we're into. And unfortunately, it is very late in the UK when we found the time to record this episode, so Johnny wasn't able to make it. And he's getting ready to travel over the holidays and needed to prep for that. James the Civilian, usually a member of the round table, also had a holiday Christmas party that kind of conflicted with our schedules, so he simply can't be found anywhere.
If not today, nowhere, anywhere.
Exactly. So we tried and looked at scheduling a viewing of Wakanda Forever, but it just didn't happen before the show. Last year's roundtable, we were all either caught up or very heavy into Hawkeye, which was a Christmas-themed Marvel series on Disney Plus, and I had completely forgot that this came out. So I'm going to throw this out there as like the first topic if you guys are on board. And that is the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which I forgot came out around Thanksgiving in the US. And because I don't think Christmas until December. And it wasn't until the other day when I sat down and go, oh, I should check Disney to see whether Disney is showing like some of their Christmas specials. Because I like to watch The Muppet Christmas Carol. It's not on the Disney Plus offerings, but you can find a YouTube version of Fozzie's Family Christmas, like the Muppet Family Christmas, where they go to Fozzie's grandmother's house. So you can find that online too. And it looks to be pretty good quality. It's hard to say. Sometimes the commercials might be intact. Sometimes they might not be. And sometimes there's a couple of songs that are missing because at some point ABC lost the rights to the songs, and so they had to cut them out of the special. But at any rate, you can find it on YouTube. And I mean, it's an old. If you ever owned it, it was a VHS, so you're not going to find it in like 4K anywhere unless someone's rescanned it. And even then, I'm surprised they don't have like a takedown. However, I did watch the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, and I watched it. It was funny. It was goofy in the same way that Guardians is goofy, but it worked because it was kind of a goofy idea anyway, with the Guardians celebrating Christmas and trying to give a gift to Quinn. Is it Quill? Quill. It's Peter Quill. Yeah.
Yep.
To Peter Quill. And it centered around Drax and Mantis for the majority of the adventure, and Kevin Bacon, which I thought was quite funny because he just plays himself.
He's officially the MCU.
Yeah. So I guess it wasn't the MCU because he was an X-Men.
Yeah.
So I mean, I enjoyed it, and I know Lou, you said you've watched it. I think Alastair, you said you've seen it as well.
Yep, seen it too. Yep.
And Steven, you're up to snuff, so we can talk about spoilers. And not that it really is much of a spoiler. It's a 44-minute Christmas special. But the one thing that I really found odd was I've seen the trailer for Guardians 3. And the ship in Guardians 3 is the one that they used in this special, because this special was filmed at the same time that they filmed Guardians 3. But I'm confused as to when this is supposed to all be taking place. I went and I looked up an approximate timeline on like one of the first, just blog posts that I found. And I thought that this was like, I was all caught up on Marvel. There was one Werewolf at Night thing that I haven't watched. And then there's the Christmas special. And so the last thing before this was Doctor Strange.
No, Thor, Love and Thunder.
Yeah. Thor, Love and Thunder, sorry.
Yeah, it's supposed to be between that and Guardians of the Galaxy 3. James Gunn actually confirmed it on Twitter back in like April of 2021.
Okay.
That it would take place somewhere between those two films.
So is it me, or is the whole Mantis being Quill's half-sister completely forced into this 144-minute?
No, it's mentioned at some point in 2.
Is it really?
But
okay.
It's like, it is. Because she's helping Ego, I think, or something like that, and that's how they're there. And it's hinted that she might be one of the other children, so that if Peter doesn't work out, she's going to be the replacement.
Okay.
I forgot about
Ego.
that.
Yeah, Ego's her father.
Well, yes, they said that very clearly, but they said it as if everyone should know it. Like it wasn't a big revelation for the audience.
It's literally like it's like one line of dialogue or 2 lines of dialogue, and
okay.
like if you're not like hanging on every word, you'll miss it. I only know because I've seen the movie like 3 times.
So they are the ones that I don't go back and watch. Like if I'm going on a tear through the MCU on a rewatch, I definitely don't watch the Guardians of the Galaxy. They're not terrible, but they're not among my favorites. And I found them very entertaining when I saw them in theater. Like I didn't mind them. But I definitely don't have them high on the list, like Civil War or First Avenger, and like those ones I find, among others.
Yeah, they're the kind of ones that I go to when I kind of want an aside. It's just kind of, you've got all the main ones, like you say, like Civil War, but then there's just like, you know what? I want to hang out with my old friends. And it's one of those kind of things where you just kind of go for that. Because I do love the banter and a lot of the characterization. So I'm quite a big fan of those films. But yeah, it's probably not the immediate go-to, but I always love to return to them every now and then. I
think there are characters in it that I really like Rocket and Groot, and I think I like Quill as a character. I don't necessarily know the storyline. I kind of have a thing where I'm not a big fan of Chris Pratt, but it's funny because like I've seen some of the other stuff that he's done and I quite like it.
I didn't feel like he was very into this Christmas special. Like if I just found I had a sister and I was just this, single sibling my entire life, and he's like, wow, this is the best Christmas gift anyone could have given me. A sister. Smile slightly, hug. I'm like, really? I would have been a blubbering mess if I found out I had a sibling out of nowhere.
I thought that was kind of phoned in as well. I also don't feel like it was funny. The whole plot was to give Quill Christmas, but he wasn't in it very much.
No.
It feels like this whole movie was filmed while they were filming the other movie when they had downtime. Quick, let's go grab Kevin Bacon and have like 5 scenes with him. Oh, quick, let's go do this. Like,
Yeah.
it felt like half the lines were improvised too. So you're like, oh, okay, all right.
But the other thing as well is that Mantis and Drax really kind of secondary. They're not really what you would consider the core of the Guardians. So it's actually really nice just to see a little bit more of them and have them just have their sort of time to do some stuff.
I was just excited that the dog was in it.
Cosmo, yes.
I was like, they're finally introducing Cosmo. This is awesome.
So that was the first appearance of Cosmo?
Well, Cosmo was, I think, in the Collectors.
Yeah, but he doesn't talk or anything. He's like one line of dialogue.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that was the other part. I'm glad you mentioned the Collector, Stephen, because the Collector, they said, well, after we bought Nowhere from the Collector, it's like, when did that happen? Was that in part of 2?
I don't think that was in the movies.
No, I think that was just a mention so that you know that the Collector's gone. And that's why he's not in the next movie.
Well, because didn't Thanos kill him? If not kill him, he certainly got rid of him.
I don't think they actually confirmed it one way or the other. You're right, though. It was just Thanos made it look like everything was okay, but that was just an illusion. And so all of the stuff was wrecked and the Collector was just not there.
I thought he was on the floor, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Maybe.
Because again, like that was like Infinity War, I think was when that happened, right? Yeah, because Thanos is collecting the stones.
Right.
But that's funny because like I don't often get all the way to Infinity War when I go to rewatch some of the movies. Like I don't always get to the end. Or if I do get partway there, then I think, oh, what other ones? Because I get on a Spider-Man tangent or I start watching some older Iron Man or something like that. But yeah, like overall, I think that the premise was fun. You know, kidnapping Kevin Bacon as Mantis and Drax do, and the only thing about it was that Mantis and Drax kind of have one shtick, and so that goes on for like 20 minutes of Drax not getting it and Mantis wanting something but not telling anybody what she wants, but then also completely misunderstanding what it is that she's supposed to be doing as well. And so it's funny, like in a few punchy moments, it's funny. I really enjoyed the part where they got, I think it was a gay bar, but they got into a really flamboyant club, and there's lots of drinks and lots of just personalities and everything happening in there, and they're completely oblivious to all of it. They're just there to just like, oh, we were looking for Kevin Bacon, but this seems like a good idea. We've got all this money. Like it was completely like the attention, you know, of a 6-year-old kind of walking down the street going, ooh, shiny. Well, let's go in here for a good 7-minute dance montage, you know?
Because that's about the extent of those characters' perception.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
But not before we have a chance to beat up the GoBots, of course.
Oh, yeah. The GoBots. They killed my sister or something like that. Yeah. It was, I thought it was interesting that the GoBots were real, like, and apparently not nice. I liked the overall like part where they did get back to Nowhere and had all the Christmas lights set up. That combined with the music, like that was a pretty classic TV holiday special feeling. You know what I mean? Like I think they nailed that kind of like 80s holiday special, like insert your favorite sitcom here, you know, and they have like those magical moments on set. And I thought that it was pretty cool, especially because you get to experience it through a bunch of aliens that have no idea what Christmas is and are just kind of like winging it based on what they know. Yeah.
And the lights were really well done too. I thought it was you know, all goofiness aside in the movie, it was pretty spectacular light up. It was good.
Yeah. I also loved how they brought in Yondu as well, and just those flashbacks, and that was kind of nice.
Oh yeah, and how he actually got his I'm not sure what they're called, but the phasers, the hand those were the
guns,
gift. That was pretty. That was a nice, sweet, touching moment. That was good.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. I can only assume that the animation style was meant to be an homage to the herky jerky animation of the 80s on low budget Christmas specials.
It was meant to be an homage to the Star Wars special from
the
set. Yeah.
Oh,
I was just kind of like, because it's bad. Like there's even parts where characters,
yeah.
like people turn their heads and eyes and nose slide over the like all over the place. Like characters don't look like themselves when they look from left to right. Like it's really awful.
Yeah.
And my brain is just like,
Yeah.
okay, there's no way anyone at Disney missed this. Like this is obviously done on
No,
purpose.
Joel's having an
done on,
aneurysm.
Oh, it's hard,
was-
man. It's hard.
it was done on purpose because I think that's the way the original Star Wars Christmas special is done as well.
The animated one,
Where
yeah.
there's a whole segment with Boba Fett, and it's one of the worst animated things you'll ever see.
Yeah, I'm sure I've seen that at some point. I've probably blocked it out as an adult, but I'm
It's
sure I've seen
always on YouTube somewhere, usually.
it. So this marks the end. They've confirmed that this is the end of Phase 4 of the MCU.
Okay.
And so, is it Wakanda Forever is the first part of Phase 5? I think they said that this summer.
Is that what it is, or was Wakanda the last one?
I thought Wakanda was the last one, but
Yeah, I think Wakanda
yeah.
is the last one. I think the
Yeah.
next movie is the first one.
Okay, I'll have to go because the blog post that I read said that the MCU ended in Phase 4 with the holiday special. But
Oh.
I'll Google
maybe
it
I'm
real
wrong.
quick.
well, the holiday special, I'm pretty sure came out afterwards anyway.
Oh, I thought Wakanda Forever was.
Because I saw Wakanda Forever at the cinema before I saw the holiday special, and I saw the holiday special when that came out. So I do think it is that correct order there.
Yeah.
The blog post must have missed it, but you're right. We've got Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania kicks off
Yep.
5.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying that now that I've said that out loud. So yeah, weirdly, Wakanda was not in this blog post that I read. It wasn't anything official. It was just like some fan blog, but they listed everything like TV shows and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, Ant-Man, Guardians Volume 3, The Marvels, Captain America: New World Order. Those are the first. Those are strong. That's a strong
Yeah, it's
4
gonna be a good year.
opening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Captain America comes out 2024. So,
Right.
but still, that's a great way to open 2024 as well.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot on Disney Plus as well, though. I'm really looking forward to. No surprise, Ironheart. I've mentioned it a handful of times on the podcast, but I think that's going to be. I'm really hopeful because the comics. I didn't get deep into them, but they seem like a really cool addition to the MCU. So.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff coming that way. And I think Disney Plus is going to do a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but theaters here are doing okay, but they're not doing great.
I haven't been keeping track, but I certainly haven't been going. The one film that I saw in theaters since the pandemic started was Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
And I have reason, like I would like to go see Wakanda in film or in theater.
Yeah, me too.
I would like to see any future Marvel films, unless there's some crazy outbreak here, then I'm sure I would be going to see, well, okay, maybe not Ant-Man because I'm not a big fan, but I'll probably go see Guardians in the theaters. They're usually a spectacle at the very least. And then of course the Marvels for sure. And anything else that they've got, that's coming out that's in the nerdy kind of realm. I want to stop. I don't want to say sitting on my hands, but like when you're in a big movie theater, now we have the advantage here in Halifax, Dartmouth of it not being so heavy populated that when you go on a Tuesday, it's not like you're shoulder to shoulder with a room full of people. Like there's going to be you and 10 other people in a movie theater. Like you can find comfortable space. And I don't often snack at the movies. So like me wearing a mask during the movies, if that's something that I had to do, then I wouldn't really care. I might have to move it so it doesn't fog up my glasses, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be too worried about that. But I do miss going to the movies because I was watching the end of Andor, and I won't spoil anything if people haven't caught up. But there are some cinematic moments in the series Andor, and even though I have a big TV, it really made me feel like, oh, right, we don't have any new Star Wars movies coming out for a very long time, and I do miss the Christmas Star Wars. Like it's been several years now since Rise of Skywalker came out, but I think that was the last time that I had that big kind of cinematic Christmas experience was when Star Wars was last in theaters.
That's the one thing I missed the most entertainment wise throughout the pandemic, because my family and I had gotten into the habit of going, not the habit, but the routine of going once a month or once every 2 months, just because of the Marvel's movies coming out. Then there was Spider-Man into the I forget what it's called, the animated Spider-Man movie.
Spider-Verse? Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, so good. And then there was the How to Train Your Dragon movies that were at the same time, and then the Lego movies that were out in and around there as well, like a couple of years before that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to this year. I can almost kind of point to every month, and there's something that I want to see. So I'm kind of half tempted to get that Cineplex monthly pass deal to get the cheaper tickets.
Yeah, I've got that. It's actually really good.
Nice.
I-
Yeah.
If I didn't have a 2.5-year-old, I'd probably go to the theater more.
Yeah,
Have you seen the trailer, Stephen, for Across the Spider-Verse, the sequel?
I have. Yes, we actually just watched it yesterday, just because we like to watch trailers for upcoming things together. When it's something that we know that we'll all like, we kind of hold off watching it until we can all sit down and watch it as a family, and that we put that in. Was it yesterday or the day before? Either way, recently, and it looks just as delicious as the first one. Looks so good.
There's actually, I'm looking it up right now. There's a romantic comedy on Netflix that looks like it's done in the same style as Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, that's
Intergalactic? I think it's Intergalactic.
Intergalactic. Yeah, it sounded like it was going to be a sci-fi type of thing, which it's not at all. But it actually, I thought it was quite good, very cool looking, and
you watched it?
and it
Cool.
reminded me very much of the same. Not it doesn't have kind of the halftone layering and the the cool animated glitching from Spider-Man, but
Okay.
the drawing style looks almost identical. It's so good.
Yeah, very similar production design. I mean, that's really all I've had time to catch up on. I've bookmarked a few things. I usually try to watch Prep and Landing, which is like a Disney animated elf cartoon. They're just like half an hour or a 45-minute TV specials that are fun. And of course, the Muppets are kind of my go-to over Christmas. Stephen, do you have anything that you're looking forward to watching over the holidays?
Well, we've been trying to catch up on holiday stuff as much as possible. We usually watch White Christmas once a year.
Mm-hmm.
There's the new Christmas Carol coming out, or that's come out, I believe. And
The one on Netflix?
yeah, we want to watch it. The boys saw it, and they saw the kind of the trailer for it, and said, "Oh, that looks cool," but we should go watch the classic one first, because they would kind of like to go see the black and white one and kind of get the original experience, and then go see the new one and kind of compare the two of them. So
Have they not seen the original?
no, and I think I've only seen it once, ages and ages ago. So it'll be nice to do that. And we saw Scrooged, which is man, it's funny how I say funny, but I'm going to put that up in quotation marks. A lot of things that I embarrassingly just didn't give many two thoughts about just don't hold up in terms of appropriateness, and it's just like, man, Bill Murray
Yeah, that
movies are
movie
just
is
not okay. Like the women are just not treated right, and it just makes me feel all kinds of not good about myself. But it's one we've been wanting to watch for a couple of years now, but it only seems to be available for rent around Christmas time, and no streaming service seems to have it. So we just finally decided to bite the bullet and rent it this year.
yeah, I went down that rabbit hole too with a couple of movies that we wanted to show Violet, but you know, we've tried to have her watch Christmas stuff in the past, and she just didn't get it because she wasn't old enough to understand. And this is the first year where she kind of gets stuff,
Mm,
and we were like, let's show her Rudolph. Rudolph isn't streaming anywhere. Let's show her The Grinch That Stole Christmas. Oh, the only thing we can watch is the Jim Carrey movie. No, that's not what I want to show her first. She has to see the other one first.
yeah.
And so I had to go out and buy them.
Yeah, it's actually probably cheaper to go buy the DVD at Walmart or something like that than rent it
bargain
somewhere.
bin for $2, right?
Yeah.
Like you can probably buy a DVD with a bunch of them all together on it, right?
I ended up buying them on Vudu. I don't know if it's a service you guys have access to.
Not heard of that one before, no.
No.
It's owned by Fandango.
Oh, okay. Like cinema tickets and stuff like that?
Yep. And they used to be owned by Walmart. So Walmart sold it to Fandango, and it's pretty much, if I'm looking for something and I can't, and I'm gonna buy it, I go there, and almost everything is part of that Movies Anywhere. So if I buy it on Vudu, I get it on my Amazon account, and I get it on Amazon, my Google, Apple, like everything seems to be linked through them. So
That's cool.
9 times out of 10, if I buy a movie, it ends up everywhere. So I just ended up buying them for like $5 a piece. And Violet got to sit through Rudolph. And then I sat through Rudolph again. And then I sat through Rudolph again.
And by the 17th time, you regretted it.
I should know the animation company behind this, and I'm blanking on it. I keep on saying Rankin Bass, but that's
Rankin Bass did the original Rudolph, I think.
Okay, so I'm talking about the one with Burl Ives and
Yeah,
the singing snowman and stuff. So okay, so it is Rankin
yeah.
Bass. Who am I getting
And I
confused with?
believe they also did. I also believe they were involved in the original Grinch That Stole Christmas.
The Grinch That Stole Christmas original was a Chuck Jones production.
Is that what? I
Yeah.
knew Chuck Jones did it, but I thought he was working for Rankin Bass.
Oh, so that I don't remember. I have that on DVD somewhere.
That's the weird thing. I've watched The Grinch That Stole Christmas a million times. It was my mother's favorite Christmas thing. We watched it every year up until I was in my 30s. And when I bought this, it was supposed to be the collector's edition with extra content. I was like, extra content? All right. And so we watched the movie, and then all of a sudden they proceeded to start the next movie, and it was like the return of the Grinch That Stole Christmas. It's like, what is this crap? And it's the animation quality is like not even close to it's like watching an episode of Yogi Bear from the 60s. And I'm like, ooh, this isn't good. And then afterwards it's the Grinch versus the Cat in the Hat or something goofy like that. And I sat through these with Violet, and she literally at one point, both movies, looked at me, Daddy, I don't like this. Can we watch Rudolph?
Nice.
There is it looks like it might be a Blue Sky production. I don't like the Jim Carrey version of the Grinch, but I think I've seen.
Have you seen the Benedict Cumberbatch one?
Oh no, because I would have remembered
That's
him
actually
being
pretty
in it.
good.
I think I've seen the trailer for it and it just looked really cool.
That was the one I haven't seen.
It's pretty decent. That was yeah, it actually felt like it was a pretty heartwarming story, and you know, he's not straight up cold and mean. There's just I won't give it away if you haven't seen it, because it is kind of it's nice to experience the surprise of it, like a slightly different take on it. And we enjoyed that one. So I forgot we were looking to watch that one again this year too.
Oh, it's Illumination. That's who it is that does it.
Yeah.
I want to say it was Blue Sky, but Blue Sky's gone into business. No, yeah, Illumination, because they're the Despicable Me people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And aren't they the ones that are doing the new Super Mario Brothers movie too?
They are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
More Chris Pratt. Yay.
Dialing it in.
I won't lie. That movie looks really good, except for him.
I saw this guy on TikTok and he goes, I saw the trailer for the movie and I don't hate Chris Pratt in it. It doesn't seem terrible, but it's like some people call him Mario, some people call him Mario. I think Chris Pratt's doing a decent Mario, but he's certainly not doing a Mario. And so I'm like, yeah, that pretty much hits the nail on the head right there.
Yeah, I think they could have got away without an accent. Like, I think it could have just been fine, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I visually it looks great, and I remember I'm production companies are smooshing in my brain, but I watched Horton Hears a Who. That was cool. Pretty sure I watched what's the one with the little orange guy? I think it was Danny DeVito that did the voice.
Oh, the Lorax.
The Lorax. Yeah, I remember watching that on home video and really liking that. And so
the songs in that were funny.
Yeah, so like they've got some moments, and I think for so many things that have been pushed into CG and or live action with CG, as Disney has been doing the last few years, I think that the Dr. Seuss designs really lend themselves well to CG, especially when they're handled by a very cartoony group. Like Disney, not Pixar, but Disney, when they do a CG film, they seem to be having like hits and misses here and there. The latest one about like some wonderful world or whatever it's called is not getting a lot of great reviews. But then you've got Pixar that does something like Inside Out. And the characters and the designs from Inside Out, along with the story, they remind me of Dr. Seuss type characters, right? Like they have that kind of vibe. Very smooshy, you know, like they have the no bones, you know, like they
almost like marshmallowy type beings with frosting colors. I really like the colors in that of the characters in that movie.
So Lou, I mean, you've gotten into the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Grinch. Do you and Erica have anything that you look forward to watching?
No, it's all Violet right now. She goes to bed, and right now we're so brain dead. We're just watching reruns of Doctor Who at this point.
So I'm embarrassed to say that I have never seen White Christmas all the way through. and I saw bits of it. We were watching it on TV last year at my sister's place, and I've probably seen like a good chunk of it because it was on TV for a while. But I think I might try and find either a place to stream that or a place to watch that on my own. I often end up watching It's a Wonderful Life at some point over the holidays. I think a lot of people have that one on their list.
That's one I haven't seen actually.
Okay, that's worth it. If you're going down the road of watching the original Christmas Carol in black and white with the family, then check out It's a Wonderful Life, because I think it would be a good palate cleanser.
Yeah,
after that.
It's a good movie, but if you know all the cliches, you're gonna be watching it for like the first 30 or 40 minutes and being like, this is the movie that everybody reruns all the time and talks about. This isn't what and then all of a sudden at about like, I think it's like the 45-minute mark or something like that, or 50-minute mark, all of a sudden it becomes everything it's known for at that point, and you're like, oh wow, it's almost like there's two different movies here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that one's old enough that it may have been the one that created a bunch of the cliches. So it would have been, I'm just a guess, but I mean,
Oh, well, there's the cliche of like, whenever a bell rings, an angel gets its wings and things like that. That's all like the last like 30 minutes of the movie. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, all the big moments that people know from It's a Wonderful Life are from the third act. Like the setup. I mean, it's a long. I think is it almost 3 hours? It's a long haul.
It's a long movie.
It is a long movie, but
they run it here in America. They run it on Thanksgiving Day. It's a marathon. Every television network just runs that all day rather than paying for programming because it's free. And so my mother-in-law put it on, and I'm sitting there with Violet in my lap, and Violet goes, "Where's the color?" I was like,
it's only 2 hours and 10 minutes. I think we're all just jaded by the 3-hour epics that they
no.
to put
When
out
they
in
run it
theaters now.
when they run it on real TV, it's 3 hours.
Oh yes,
the
I guess.
commercials.
Yeah, with the commercial breaks, it would be a long film. And honestly, 2 hours back then, in 1946, when it was made, that's a long haul for a film. That would just be expensive. Period. Like just the amount of film that you'd have to run to make that would cost a lot. Beyond the Muppets and a couple of classic movies, that's really all I've got. Alastair, do you have anything that's on your short list for Christmas?
For Christmas specifically, I'm probably just going to watch The Snowman again. I might actually give the movie you just mentioned a watch as well, because I haven't seen that one either.
Okay.
So I know that the an angel gets its wings scene has been in another movie that I've seen. So I know of that. I've never actually seen the film itself. But The Snowman is always a kind of go-to for me. That's kind of what we kind of grew up on in the UK. And I know I've mentioned about that in previous holiday roundtables that we've had on this show.
Refresh my memory. Is it an animated thing?
It's animated, yeah. It's not really any dialogue. It's all just music. It's where We're Walking in the Air is like the big song from that one. And it also has David Bowie opening in a short live action segment at the beginning, where he plays an older grown up version of the kid that's in the animation. And
so is it just called The Snowman?
Yeah, just called The Snowman. It's by a story by a guy called Raymond Briggs, and they also had a spin-off that came out later called Father Christmas, because this kid who makes a snowman that comes to life, they end up flying to the North Pole where there's all these other snowmen and Father Christmas. And so when they did the spin-off, it's everything from Father Christmas's perspective, and then eventually they meet up at that same party and you see the kid and the snowman. It's really kind of neat.
I know the story. I didn't know there was an animation.
Oh yeah. It came out in 1983.
So I've not seen the actual special, but I've seen clips from it, especially in references or research when I was in animation school. You end up watching all kinds of stuff. I've definitely seen either snippets from it, or maybe I've also seen spin-off materials. By this point, Alistair, there's probably things like storybooks and posters and things like that. Yeah. So I might have seen it just kind of in pop culture, but having not actually seen the actual animation. It reminds me of the Charmaine commercials. the animation style. Like it's very sketchy and smooth and
Yeah.
sweet,
Yeah.
and everything is kind of slow. Like it's all kind of like methodic and even
Yeah.
melodic with all the music and stuff. Like I find that cartoons for us in the 80s over in North America ended up being very punchy. So you'd end up with like the Mickey's Christmas Carol is a fun one if you're looking for a short version of the
Yes.
Christmas Carol. I always like the Ghost of Christmas Present that can't pronounce pistachios. Uh, always one of my favorite moments. And there's another one that would usually precede that, which would be I don't remember whether it's called Mickey Have a Merry Christmas or something like that. But it's Mickey and Pluto are trying to get ready for Christmas, and Chip and Dale, the chipmunks, are in the tree. Mickey cut down a Christmas tree. It happened to be Chip and Dale's home, and
Oh, yes.
they bring it in, and then Pluto is trying to get the squirrels or the chipmunks out of the tree, and they're just like it's a whole cartoony slapstick fight of like, I think at one point Dale pretends to be a candle or something.
Is that Once Upon a Christmas with Mickey? Is that what it is?
That could be it. I went looking, and you have to be careful when you're looking on Disney Plus because they've remade it or they've made updated versions of it since. It's there, but you have to go looking for one that looks like it's old. The
Yep.
newer ones, I think the newer one has Minnie in it. The original, it's just Mickey and his dog because I don't think Minnie was even around
Yeah,
when they made it.
I've had this. Violet went through a phase where she just wanted to watch Mickey and Minnie Mouse. So I've watched everything on Disney Plus at this point that says Mickey or Minnie, and I think we had to sit through back to back Once Upon a Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, and then there's Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas, and I was
Yeah.
like, really? And then there's another one. There's a Thrice Upon a Christmas, and the Thrice Upon a Christmas was literally made for the Disney Channel.
Yes.
And they're using that like really bad CG from like the mid 2000s. That's like, oh, it's like painful to watch.
Yeah, and the Twice Upon a Christmas was like done in the 80s when Disney was making sequels direct to video for everything, like
Video,
Aladdin
yeah.
2, The Lion King
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, like all that kind of stuff. And so that one is the Twice Upon a Christmas. But yeah, the Once Upon, that might be it, Once Upon a Christmas. I know that when CBC used to run like the Disney block over the holidays, those would be the two that would be played together. You'd watch the Once Upon a Christmas with Mickey and Pluto and the Chipmunks, and then following that would be all of them, like Mickey and Donald and Minnie and Uncle Scrooge, and they would all do the whole Christmas Carol thing. That would be the animated sequence that they would run for TV. I really like that one. It might be a little bit scary at points for Violet. There's a lot of, when you get into the Ghost of Christmas Christmas Future. It's Pete.
This kid is not afraid of anything.
What? Right, I'm forgetting it's the Zombie Eater's kid.
Oh, no. Seriously, I've sat through every episode of Scooby-Doo in existence at this point.
Oh wow.
She carries Scooby-Doo around the house. She has a Scooby
that's
pillow
cute.
that someone gave her. She carries him around the house, and every morning she's like, "More Scooby, Daddy, more Scooby." And so
that's awesome.
she was Scooby-Doo for Halloween. Every kid in her class was a Disney princess or something like that. She showed up, but she was like, "Screw you all, I'm Scooby."
You're going to have the coolest kid in middle school. Her nickname is going to be Scooby.
Oh my God.
That's a cool nickname. I would take it.
We asked her, "What do you want to do? What do you want to be for Halloween next year?" Wait, Scooby again.
That's so cute. Oh, man. So I guess we can take a look into the future, speaking of Ghosts of Christmas Future, and maybe tap in on anything we're looking forward to in the new year, anything that's coming down the pipe. Alistair, do you have anything that you're looking forward to?
Oh, there's a few things. Right at the very beginning of the year, we've got the second half of season 1 of Quantum Leap, which is the follow-on series, which I'm really actually quite enjoying more than I was expecting to. So really looking forward to that. We've got more Star Trek coming out. So Star Trek Picard season 3 comes out February 16th. And then after that, we've got Strange New Worlds season 2, which there's no release date for yet, but given the Picard ends in April, probably going to be sort of end of April or May, I would guess. And then the other big thing is Doctor Who. It will be returning in 2023. And interestingly, on Disney Plus for outside of the UK. but staying
Wow.
on BBC iPlayer. But they did a massive deal with Disney for that as well. So
Yeah,
that's going to be
Disney
great.
doesn't Disney own portion of it now or something? Like that's
Yeah,
part of the deal. Disney owns like 25% and Disney wants to like cough up money and up production and stuff or something. I
which
read
is
something about that.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that brings a lot of excitement in. On top of the fact that Russell T Davies, who is the man who brought Doctor Who back in 2005, he's returning to run the show along with some of his original production team and things. So there's just a lot which is bringing back a lot more excitement to Doctor Who as
Yeah.
it's not been in the best of hands as of late.
Yeah, yeah, nothing against the last Doctor. That's where we fell
No,
off. We
yeah,
fell off. We were like, oh, this is not well written, and
yeah.
it's yeah.
Typical Chibnall. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things
It
this will turn
it
into a massive long
it
rant.
it it's funny because we've been rewatching it, and there's a bunch of stuff that I forgot he was a writer for, and every time I see his name pop up as a writer of an episode, I'm like, oh, this is one we're gonna be in for a rough ride, and we always end up being like, I'm like, yeah, I can see why I don't like like it when he's the showrunner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Interestingly as well, just whilst we're talking about Disney, it's also going to be their 100th anniversary next year,
Is it really?
October 16th.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
because it was
Yeah.
1923 that they started as I think it was the Disney Brothers Pictures company or something like that.
The Walt Disney. I see it.
Yeah.
There's so much information in the bio that I've been trying to read for the last couple of years. It's like an 800-page tome.
I've been to the park. They have an entire 2-hour movie they make you sit through that's about the history of him and the history of the park and I've sat through it 100 times. I couldn't tell you anymore.
They just pack so much information in, right? And it's like
Yeah.
it's like reading an encyclopedia. Like it's not necessarily a narrative. It's just kind of like even they give you a little bit more than bullet points, but my gosh, there was a lot that went on.
Yeah.
I mean,
100 years of history. I mean, yeah.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, this book was mostly focusing on Walt specifically, but yeah, it was
Right.
it was around then because Snow White came out in 36, I want to say, something
Yeah.
like
Sounds
that.
about right, yeah.
So yeah, the early days would have been like Silly Symphonies and Mickey Mouse. Steamboat Willie wasn't the first. Steamboat Willie was something that came later on. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that would be 100 years. I imagine there'll be definitely a celebration in the parks. I don't know about what they might do in terms of like streaming stuff.
Bob Iger actually just sent out an email earlier, which is what triggered it for me. And he says that they're starting off with D23 as being like this whole big platform for how they're going to start celebrating the 100th anniversary. So we'll find out a little bit more as time goes on. But that'll be later in October.
Very cool. I'm glad that Bob Iger's back at the helm there because I've seen some interviews with him and he seems to have a very clear vision about what should be going on and how to move forward and not ignoring the future. Like he's really looking at new technologies and all that kind of stuff and seeing how Disney can fit in. And I, for one, like I wasn't necessarily concerned, but I've been pleasantly surprised by the level of enjoyment I get out of like Star Wars series on Disney Plus. Because because we don't have the films, but like the Star Wars series are good. The Marvel series, for the most part, also good. You know, like you don't get a mediocre experience because Hawkeye was in the films, and then you go to watch the Hawkeye show and think, oh well, this is just a TV show. Nope, it is like a 7-hour movie or an 8-hour movie. They've just broken it up into episodes, and I feel like a lot of the value is there. Not for every franchise, but for the most part, they knock it out of the park. So I'm curious to see what the strategy might be going forward, especially because if you can attract, like, say, Hollywood talent or just actors that have enough clout and the chops to really deliver an excellent job, that might be drawn to like, yeah, you know what? I'd rather do a longer form series than a 2-hour movie on location that takes me away from my family or whatever. Now, I mean, some of the series are on location too, but you know, with what they can do with the soundstage that they shoot The Mandalorian and other shows on, it really opens up a lot of possibilities. So we'll have to see. The elephant in the room, which I have only been sort of paying attention to is Avatar: The Way of Water. Is anybody excited to go see this? It's obviously doing very well.
Not excited at all. And I was bored the other night and I was thinking, I might just go to the cinema and see what's on. And then I saw that the only film that I hadn't missed the showing for because it was so late was Avatar. And when I saw the runtime, well, it's over 3 hours. I was just like, oh, no,
Oh,
no, no,
jeez.
no, no.
Yeah.
I'm not going for a 10 o'clock showing for 3 hours of Avatar. No.
I've very much fallen out of love with James Cameron. I appreciate that all he's done, but every time he talks about movies now, I feel like he's insulting us as an audience or insulting the people that like other movies that aren't his. And then he talks about this Avatar movie like it's amazing, and I'm like, no, it seems kind of simple, dude. You didn't mean to make it 3 hours. I'm happy to sit in a seat for 2.
They're making 5 of these films.
And I hear it's good. Like I hear, and everybody, it's cool to hate on the original Avatar. It was Fern Gully in real action, and even then, some of it, most of it wasn't even real action,
Did you see the news report? I think it was reported today. There's an actress who was in it, and they filmed their scenes so long ago, they thought the movie already came out, was in theaters, and was a flop. They didn't
Oh,
even
wow.
know that the movie wasn't out. I forget the actress's name. She's an older lady, and she has a part in it. And she's like, "Oh, I filmed my roles for that 4 years ago. I thought this came out already."
I've seen like obviously the parade of stars on the different talk shows, the late night shows, talking about the film and talking about the experience. It's like everybody can hold their breath for a really long time. Apparently, it's the only thing that they really talk about in these interviews. But that or someone mentions that Matt Damon had to turn down 10% of Avatar because
Yeah.
he wasn't finished the Bourne films. But there's all these like clips and quips, but from people that I follow on TikTok, like Straw Hat Goofy, who's someone that I trust as far as their 2 cents most of the time, was saying like, it's fun to hate on it, but it's good. Like you can make fun of it all you want. He's gonna make a lot of money with this movie, and it is enjoyable.
I don't poo-poo anybody that enjoys it. I just know that I sat
Yeah.
through the first one and was like, it's a movie. I don't know if I'll ever sit through this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably catch it when it's on streaming, but unless it's, I don't feel compelled to see it at the cinema.
Yeah.
I remember rewatching the first one at home on Disney Plus, like one of the first, weekends I had Disney Plus or a month or two in, because like you've watched all the new stuff and Disney Plus hadn't had the catalog that it does now. And so I was like, oh, Avatar's on this. Very cool. I haven't seen that in a long time. Maybe I'll watch that. I know I've seen it before. And I remember watching it thinking like, oh yeah, right. I remember this tropey part. Yeah, I remember this tropey part. And yet an hour and a half later, I'm still watching it. Like there's something very visually appealing about it. And I've heard some criticisms of James Cameron saying like, well, yeah, like the studio wanted to cut this down for length, and I just wanted to do it because it looks cool. And so he's like, does it serve the story? No, but it looks really freaking cool. And I imagine like some of it is as much as communicating something visually and trying to transport the audience there. I can sort of appreciate that, because one thing that I find is lacking in a lot of new films is how quickly they are cut together, and you go from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, and you just don't have a chance to like soak in where you are. One of the things I really liked about Top Gun Maverick was that they had both. You had all the quick cuts when they were doing dogfights and they were doing really actiony stuff, but whenever they had any kind of setup or any kind of like mood portion, like the portion of the flight before they started the test run or before they did the white knuckle event, that was long. You'd have a long shot of those planes and a long conversation with actors in the cockpits talking with them over the radio, and that juxtaposition really worked well, because I noticed it with other stuff. I'm struggling to remember, find examples, but like action movies these days, like it's really hard to figure out what's going on.
Doctor Strange 2, Madness or whatever. It was a fine movie. It was good, but it moved too fast. Like you didn't even get a chance to understand what was going on, and boom, you're 3 steps ahead, and you're like, wait, what did I miss? I missed something here. I sat through that movie, the whole movie, and I got it. I understood what was going on, but I felt like I need to watch this a second or a third time to get everything that's going on here. It's going way too fast.
Well, that brings us into the Internet Minute, which is, of course, brought to you by you, dear listener. The Citadel Cafe is 100% listener supported. If you're getting a value out of the show, please consider putting a little bit of value back in. You can become a member at patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. Joining at any level will get you an invite to the member-only Discord server, and that is shared with my personal Discord. And, of course, access to any Barista Cut bonus audio sessions that we record throughout the year. A big thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the Citadel Cafe throughout 2022. Could not do it without you. Really appreciate it. And a special thanks to our Bean Counter patrons, Cosmic and Smurf588. Really appreciate your support of the Holiday Roundtable. Patron count is at 27. That is steady on from the last time that we recorded. Our goal each episode is to have at least one more patron than the one before. If you would like to be patron number 28, visit patreon.com/the Citadel Cafe. I'm going to kick us off with a kick to the nuts, actually. James Gunn and Peter Safran say, actually, nope, to Henry Cavill returning as Superman. I was one of many who was very excited when the word was out that Henry Cavill had a cameo at the end of Black Adam. It was one of the only reasons I was considering to actually go see the film until I realized just how short the cameo was. I then caught it later on social media. But I want to say earlier this week or last week, looks like maybe December 14th, Henry Cavill made a post on Instagram, not a video. It's a written text, white on black. I have just had a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran, and it is sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life. The changing of the guard is something that happens. I respect that. James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved with the new universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. He goes on to say a bunch of other really nice things about Superman and how it's more than just a role, and it's what, a lot of humanity should strive towards, blah, blah, blah. And it's all very well written. And I think there's a good reason he wasn't on camera because and this is pure speculation, I would imagine he was pretty upset. I say that not knowing whether that upset would be pissed off or sad or both at the same time.
My thing is I don't think he's mad at James Gunn and Peter, what's his name, over it. I think he's mad at Warner Brothers because I think those decisions were made before they talked to James Gunn. It's my belief that Gunn already had a script for a new movie and that Warner Brothers didn't consult him before they made that announcement.
It's hard to say. And I mean, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but the thing about it is that it just seems so DC to have Henry Cavill announce in several interviews, like it was all the internet could talk about for a week and a half, was that he was back as Superman. And to have the actor go out and say it, like, and be excited about it and have their hopes up and have their fans' hopes up, only to have to backtrack. Like DC has never, the right hand has never known what the left hand was doing. And I hope it changes because I'm a fan of the characters. And while I'm not the biggest James Gunn fan, then at least he's been a part of Marvel long enough to see how it's done right. And so fingers crossed that they'll do those characters right.
Apparently that's the change. Is before Gunn took over, they said that they were going to keep the whole Snyderverse thing. And apparently that was one of James Gunn's sit downs with them, is that we really got to start all over. If you want this to work, we need to follow the Marvel situation. So the rumor is, what's his name is out as Aquaman. Wonder Woman isn't coming back. They're done with Black Adam. The rumor is that they're scrapping this, that this Flash movie's coming out, and then they're going to just reboot everything.
Is the Flash movie coming out?
It's still coming out, yeah. They actually bumped it up by a week.
Really?
They've spent too much money on it to throw it away.
Yeah. But I think Dwayne Johnson did just confirm that he's
in a very similar post.
Back.
Yeah. It was more Dwayne. It wasn't quite as eloquent, but it was still very PR. And like, again, this is all like, as much as it reads as a nice love letter to Superman from Cavill, both Johnson's post and Cavill's post are like just very PR damage control. Like we were told one thing and
Yeah.
now something else is happening. And I'm surprised that it happened so quickly. Like it was the kind of thing, like if you're going to make this decision, I feel like they could have saved themselves a lot of guff had they just like said nothing about it for a couple of months and then make the announcement that Henry Cavill's out, because to do it on the heels of the fact that he's back is just so backwards.
My theory is that they needed the stock price to go up, so that's why they made the announcement.
Wow.
Then they got the stock price what they wanted, and then they could make the announcement to cancel it, because the new owners in charge of Warner Brothers now also own HBO and HBO Max, and they're pulling like newer shows that have a season or two, and they're saying like, yeah, these aren't worth being on our servers right now, so we're gonna pull all of these exclusive shows. And we're looking into finding, the rumor is they're looking to find a free service that they can put commercials in and reinsert those same shows, but give them commercial breaks. That's what they think the marketing is that they want to make a service where it's free, but you have to watch commercials. I'm like, that seems backward to me.
I don't want anyone to bring back cable TV or free to watch with commercial. Like we've been there. Like I don't want to return.
There's a couple of cool services, like Violet watches a couple shows on Tubi, and it's free, but the commercial breaks are really short, and she's confused by them because she's not used to them. So they pop up and she goes, "Daddy, I want my show."
We all want your show, dear.
Yeah, we all do. We all do. I get very agitated by commercials when I'm over at someone's house and they have like a golf game on or a hockey game or something like that. Like I hate them. And it's because I'm so used to not having them. I really get irritated when there's pre-roll ads or mid-roll ads during a Twitch stream that I'm watching. That's why when I run ads on my stream, I actually take a hit and I get less ad revenue, because if I let Twitch run them whenever they wanted, like on the hour, on a clock, interrupting my stream, then I could end up getting more ad revenue. But because I don't want to do that, because I don't like it as a viewing experience, I need a good 5-minute break once an hour anyway to get up, refresh my water, have a stretch, that kind of thing. And so I run the ads when I'm on an AFK bit, and that works out great. But that's the only time that I'm comfortable doing it. And I find even when it's a streamer I like and I purposely clicked, oh, they're live, I'm going to watch them, click, and there's an ad, and I'll click off and I'll go do something else. I'm just like, this is dumb. Like I want to see this streamer, but like I'm immediately thrown off by like 90 seconds of ads that I have to sit through. And that's why I try to do my best to mitigate it on my own stream. But yeah, the ad stuff is brutal. Alastair, didn't you tell me there was a bunch of other stuff that got canceled on HBO Max? Westworld is done.
Yeah, that was the big one for me, was Westworld's cancellation, where they had 5 seasons planned. They've done 4, so they had 1 season left just to wrap everything up, and they canceled.
And it's been pulled from the service too.
Yeah.
Or it is the end of the year. Come January, it won't be on HBO.
I was so mad about that. It has been one of my favorite HBO shows of all time, and especially as I grew up with the movie, and I was a huge fan of the movie as a kid. Then yeah, I'm very sour and bitter about it.
Alastair, what is your pick this week?
Mine is from John C. Worsley. It's a music. He's every year he makes these kind of Star Trek Christmas mashups where he basically just takes audio from the dialogue to match it up to a famous Christmas song. And the latest one for this year is Santa When the Claws Fell, which is all kind of based on Darmok and Jalad, but instead of Tanagra, it's at Christmas. Lots of really, really good fun and well worth the watch.
I'm glad that you brought that in, because in absentia, sent in from the shadows, All I Want for Christmas, a Star Trek mashup. YouTube, JC Worsley, sent in by James, who regretted not being able to be here, but said, hey, since I can't be there, have this. And it's the same thing. It's All I Want for Christmas, but it's Jean-Luc Picard, and it's all chopped audio together to do the song. My only regret is that I really don't like this song anymore. It has been in circulation on TikTok since like mid-November. And I like the opening 3 tones, and I'm just like, next. I don't care how funny it is. I really am done with that song, to the point where I might have even ruined it for me in Love Actually, which is a good movie. I enjoy that as a good Christmas movie.
Yeah, one thing I'll say is that that's the one that he did in 2020. And it is, of all the ones that he's done, All I Want for Christmas is probably his best one so far. It's definitely my favorite of all of them. So really good suggestion from James there too.
I have to personally thank you for these, because I know what I'm going to go back upstairs and show my wife, because she's a huge Star Trek fan. And
Oh,
I'm pretty sure
marvelous.
she probably
Yes.
hasn't seen these. So I'm going to be going
That's
back
so good.
upstairs and being like, here, I got something Star Trek to show you.
Oh,
Nice.
go back through. He's only got, I think, like 8 of them. There's not many, but just go back through the channel. Listen, he's got one about Tuvok and from Voyager. There's a whole bunch of them.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
I know how
last
my
year's-
evening will go.
last year's one was based on the animated series as well, which is really cool.
So I won't, because Lou is new to these, I won't spoil the surprise and All I Want for Christmas. But I thought I knew where it was going, and then I was, oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
we're going there. And I
haven't seen these yet either.
I did get a chuckle out of it. It was very, very good. Well, that wraps up this episode and this year on the Citadel Cafe. You can get more information about the show and links to some of the things that we talked about at thecitadelcafe.com. Music for the show was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can email the show at thecitadelcafe@gmail.com or find the show by name on Twitter. Subscribe for free on your favorite podcast app or find the show on YouTube. Word of mouth is the easiest way to support the show. Just tell friends about the Citadel Cafe and where they can go to listen to it. My name is Joel Duggan. You can find links to everything I am doing online at joelduggan.com. That includes my other podcast about Minecraft at thespawnchunks.com. There's a special episode going out on the 26th of that. That is the last show of the Spawn Chunks for the year. We will be back in the new year on the 2nd with the Spawn Chunks, and the Citadel Cafe will be back shortly thereafter. I'm not sure if it's going to happen that first week, but hopefully early in January, you'll be hearing from us again. I am Joel Duggan on Twitch and on social media. Lego on Fridays, Minecraft on Saturday, Sundays, except for obviously the holiday weekends that are coming up. And I could not do this show with the folks gathered around the table here tonight. A big thanks to Alastair and Stephen, Lou, Brockett, who's not here, James, who's come by on occasion, and Ryan, who has pitched in whenever we have a cool bit of video game news to talk about. Ryan is at R. Murphy on Twitter, and all of the podcasts I mentioned at the top of the show, Zombies Ate My Podcast, Gamers in Dungeons and Diapers. Lou is at Busy Zombie Lord on Twitter and is co-host on Zombies Ate My Podcast as well. Stephen ESC is on Twitter and Twitch under that name, and of course here very often on the Citadel Cafe. Alastair at Alastair McFly, and LongRangeSensors.com for a Star Trek retrospective podcast. Brockett, of course, is at The Cat Volver. And James the Civilian is everywhere and nowhere. He's like the wind. You've been listening to the Citadel Cafe, where we are fast, easy, and cheap.
Hey, sorry I'm late. What did I miss?